right, the record reflects we're back in session. Parties to the council are present. All members of our joint alternates are present. And Mr. Malone.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a point of clarification. Exhibit 838 is that bookmark, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that, we've been talking about device 4 and device 5. That actually comes from device number 5, correct?
Yes.
Which would be the HP
Yes.
computer, correct? Desktop computer?
Yes.
Okay. And where we left off before the break, were you able to, at the break, take a look at the actual activity on the computer for device 5 at that relevant time period?
Yes.
And were you able to identify Exhibit 838 as part of a larger batch of files at the same time?
Yes.
Did that change your opinion as to whether that is, well, what would be system activity or actual user activity?
That helped me to formulate the opinion that it was likely a system-wide scan that created that access data time.
So that would be different than your testimony on Thursday, where you said it was likely user activity, correct?
I guess so, yes.
Okay. So on February 5th, no one is sitting at the HP computer doing a bookmark, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Nothing further.
Anything on redirect?
Did you find any QuickBooks activity on either device on February 1st, 2010? And when I say either device, device 4 or 5.
I don't recall on device 5. On device 4, no.
Did you see any QuickBooks activity on device 4 or 5 on February 2nd?
Again, I haven't taken time to review device 5. On device 4, no, there was not.
And as a point of clarification, device 4 is the e-machine?
Yes.
Okay. And exhibit number 792, which we've seen previously, that QuickBooks activity on February 4th is on device, that's on the e-machine, right? That's device 4.
Yes.
And the print check setup represented in 828, that was also found on device 4.
Yes.
And that activity was on February 4th, approximately 8 p.m. Is that right? It says 8:01 there, is one of the links.
Yes.
Now, you talked a little bit about, you talked, let me just do this first. Okay, I'm going to write here in green on February 4th, approximately 8 p.m. Device 4, QuickBooks access. And you talked a little bit today. You didn't actually talk about it.
Your defense would object if it was written as approximately 8 o'clock, there's an actual time of the year. We still have to be specific.
Oh,
says 801 and 46 on index number 17, the visited link. Is that right, Detective?
Yes.
You talked a little bit today about the print spool. What is a print spool? What were you able to ascertain between last week and today with regards to any printing done that night, that being February 4th?
I was able to ascertain that 2 print jobs had been sent to a USB printer, which created a spool file within the operating system's file structure. Typically, you can view that spooler file and view a image of what was sent to the printer. However, upon doing that with these 2 files, the information was garbled, and I wasn't able to decipher what had actually been sent to the printer.
Do you know what a Google toolbar is?
Yes.
What is that?
With earlier versions of Internet Explorer, search providers would prepare applications to install that would attach to Internet Explorer to provide you a search bar for their website.
Okay, so is it actually then an application that's embedded or installed, you can embed within your Internet Explorer toolbar?
Yes.
Okay. So you can just go open Internet Explorer and do a Google search from Internet Explorer in the toolbar?
Yes.
Okay. And just another point of clarification, you testified on cross about, on device 4, that being the E-machine from 206 to 207, there were several searches done, and we went through those last Thursday. And I'm going to show you again, this is Exhibit 827, index number 4. Does that represent the Google search for QuickBooks Online?
Objection, ask and answer.
Sustained askew move.
If someone searched Google at 2:06:27 a.m. and then at 2:06:39 a.m. searched for Microsoft Office templates, would the Google search then for the QuickBooks Online then be below the Microsoft Office template search?
Yes.
In the list, in the toolbar?
Correct. The most recent would remain at the top.
And are you familiar with what Microsoft Office templates are?
Yes.
What are they?
They're templates for use within Microsoft Office applications, primarily with Microsoft Word, which will provide you a template for a particular type of document you're trying to prepare.
And so if after the QuickBooks search for a Google search at 2:06:27 a.m., another search was done at 2:07:06 for Dinosaur Train, then the Google search for QuickBooks would be the third on the list.
Yes.
And so on with all of those consecutive searches.
Yes.
And these searches here, for actual Google searches, are those consistent with a system scan or with user activity?
They would, in my opinion, they would be consistent with user activity due to the seconds between each of the searches. Whereas the 27,000 items referred to on device 5 were consecutive within milliseconds.
Does system activity result in anything being sent to the printer or the print spool?
No.
Nothing further.
Anything else?
Yes. So essentially what you're saying is the activity on 2-4 between 7:55 and 8:05, that is user activity, right? Someone's actually banging keys.
Yes.
Okay. As opposed to February 5th, you indicated that after your review of the actual device, that the activity, that bookmark on Exhibit 838 was system activity, not someone banging at the keys, correct?
Objection vague as to which device.
That was device 5.
Ooh, that's number 5.
Yes, after review, I was able to make that conclusion.
Okay. Now, council mentioned Google Toolbar, if you were familiar with that. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And I think on Thursday I showed you 849A. Is this representative of a toolbar?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm going to try my terminology here. So I'm going on the computer and I'm going to do a search for QuickBooks Online, so I can go to that site. You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay, so I go on and I do my search QuickBooks Online, and lo and behold, I go to QuickBooks Online, correct? You with me?
Okay.
Okay, so if you were to come along later and pull up my internet history, that'd be correct? Internet search history,
Yes.
you would see QuickBooks Online, correct?
Yes.
So if I was trying to disguise or hide my QuickBooks Online activity, typing it in and doing a search for it and going to that site would probably not be a good way to disguise that, correct?
Objection argumentative.
System,
With that, could I, you would actually see that I went to QuickBooks Online if you went to the Google toolbar and looked at my internet search history, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's correct.
anything else?
But it would be buried under a bunch of other searches after that, right?
If the user had searched for additional items after they searched for QuickBooks Online, yes, it would be pushed down on their list.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
On February 8th, how many sites were searched?
Again, I don't recall off.
I think you testified to 5 or 6. Is that correct?
I think we did review about that many.
So it would push it down 5 or 6 slots, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's it, correct?
If those were the only 5 or 6 searches, yes.
Do you know of any other searches between February 4th at 8:05 p.m. to February 8th? Do you know of any other manual user-related searches that were done on either machine?
No.
So again, if you testified on the 8th, there was 4 or 5 or perhaps even 6 sites searched for, it would push it down 6 slots, correct?
Yes, that was the total number of searches, yes.
And wasn't one of the searches on the 8th QuickBooks Online?
I don't remember. I believe you're correct in stating that.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Any objection to Detective Schroeder being excused?
Subject to recall now.
Sure. Okay, thank you for your attendance. You're excused from the courthouse. I assume they know where to find you if we need anything additional.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have your next witness here?
Your Honor, due to weather delays, his flight was delayed coming in from Reno. He's landed en route from LAX. So he should be here shortly. I would suggest it's 11:30, if I'm sure no one would complain to an extra half hour for lunch.
Sure, we'll go ahead and take our noon recess this time until 1:30 this afternoon. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case, and we'll see everyone back at about 1:30.
I informed Ms. Rodriguez that we would like to review whatever exhibits that she wants to admit through this person. As we had that 402 we filed back in March, and we had a hearing on with the court. So depending on if it's the internal records or the records of the EIP business account, and I was never given access to the exhibits. So before any witness is called or any exhibits are identified, defense is requesting our opportunity to review and then for the court to review and then make a 402 ruling that's been held in abeyance.
First of all of those exhibits have been marked since the day one of trial. They're in the 420 series. So they've been available for inspection at counsel's discretion. A copy of our exhibit list describing those items was sent to counsel before I even delivered them physically to the court. A lot of them also are similar screen captures that were contained in the discovery that was turned over now almost 5 years ago, so a lot of that is duplicative, and none of them are subject to the objection that was of the 402 hearing, which was, I believe, and someone may correct me on this one because my memory's faulty on this, is as testimony regarding valuation, etc., of the account, not just the documents that exist or the records that exist within the system.
That would be inaccurate. We also objected to any of the records of the business as they would be business records without the proper foundation. And that was the point of the 402, and the court said, well, it depends on what they try to admit. I said, I agree. And we asked for what they were trying to admit, and there was no response of, it's these exhibits, you can look at them, or these are the ones that we have. It was no response whatsoever, and I brought a copy of the email to prove that that was the contents of the discussion.
I'd like a copy of the email when I sent in the exhibit list back January, end of December.
Well, let me see the exhibits that you intend to go into with the witness, this witness.
With this particular witness, Your Honor, I can show the court.
And this witness is who?
His name is Mike West. He works for QuickBooks. He's
Okay.
going to testify about the clone process and how the records were turned over and how
And
they
what's the
clone
clone
accounts.
process?
It's basically where they take the user's account, in this case Joseph McStay's account, and they make an exact replica of it for law enforcement, and they give that
Oh,
replica
okay.
to law enforcement so that they can copy records, print records, and things of that nature. I was planning
So
to
he's able to lay the foundation that these are basically QuickBook documents for EIP.
He's just going to lay the foundation for the clone, and that Detective Hankey was provided access to the clones. And then Detective Hankey's going to testify about the actual records that he pulled relating to checks that were written after Joseph McStay disappeared, essentially. It was before and after, within a couple of days.
And as I explained to the court, if their intent is to show that activity occurred on QuickBooks, then I think they can do that by showing a custodian record saying these are how that QuickBooks works, and this is the activity that's recorded, just like any computer activity as was testified to by Detective Schroeder. But if they want to get into the accounting and the valuation or any of the other things that came in, then you would need somebody to say these are accurate business records of what actually the accounts were for EIP. I think they need to lay more foundation.
Well, I mean, it seems to me if he's a custodian of records for QuickBooks, he would be the better witness to say certain checks were written on certain dates.
He's not actually a custodian of records. QuickBooks doesn't have typically a custodian of records. What they do is they provide clones of accounts for the detective to go in and pull out the records and things like that. Once an account record clone, I should say, is turned over, the detective doesn't have access to alter it, doesn't have access to copy it or do anything different to it than the state that it's in when it's turned over.
Our issue is if they're going to say that records demonstrate X, Y, and Z as transactions or anything, then that's something that you have to establish business records. It's as if somebody came in and said, well, here's all the files received from this office. Doesn't mean they're accurate. You have to show their accuracy. Now, if they only want to testify that QuickBooks as an operation wrote a check was written through the program at this time with these details, I think that's allowed. But whether or not, what the balance was on accounts receivable or any of those type of things, I think would be out without the proper foundation.
Your Honor, we're not getting into the valuation
Right, I
of the business. I think we've covered that. The issue, I think, is essentially the checks that were written and things of that nature. This
So
is
he lays the
online.
foundation, so he says, here's a document, this is a clone or a duplicate of QuickBook records, correct?
Correct.
And I gave that to law enforcement.
Well, not him personally, but yes,
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks provided him access to it.
Okay,
And then, in terms of, I think it's important that the court know that this is an online account. So, with an online account, QuickBooks is the custodian of all of those records that are created. They have access to them, and they provide them back to the account
Okay.
holder and store those records
okay, and
online.
then you want the detective to come in and basically read from that and say, okay, I have the clone records, and they show a check was written for X amount to so-and-so on such and such a date.
Correct, essentially, yes. Because when they provide the clone, they don't go through thousands of pages of records, because that's what we're talking about. They just take that whole block and they give it to law enforcement for them to access and review.
So he gets a large volume of material. He goes through and picks out certain parts of it.
And the question we would have for Detective Hankey is what training experience he have on QuickBooks, and is he somebody that's knowledgeable enough to actually express an opinion as to what the contents of the records are? Does he have an accounting degree? Does he have a practice with using QuickBooks, or is he just somebody that's logged in and looked through stuff?
Well, that goes to weight rather than,
Well, it first go to admissibility if he's testifying as to the what the contents of the records are, because if he's just a layperson, he can't testify to the contents of records. He can only do it if he's an expert.
well, you could someone can offer a summary of voluminous records or computer records.
They can if they're an expert. Only experts can offer opinions as to the voluminous records. They can do that.
He's not
If he's an expert, then that's not an issue. If he's not, then that's just something that they would have to address, I assume, when he's on the stand, if he has it.
He's not offering an opinion. He's not testifying as an expert. He's saying, I received this cloned account, I went through the account, and I pulled out these records. He's not offering an expert opinion.
I mean, if there's a record of a check, I mean, you don't need an expert to say, there's a check that was written on such and such a date, for X amount of dollars to so-and-so. I think he can do that. You can say, I got the clone of all the documents, I went through the documents, and here's a couple of things that I thought was interesting. And here's a check that was written on this day, here's a check that was written on this day, here's something that was printed or deleted or whatever the records show. I think you can summarize those records. So I think you can do that. Okay? Okay, so we're ready to call our jurors in?
Yes.
All right, the record reflects we are back in session. Parties and counsel are present. All members of our jury and our alternates are present, and people can call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The people call Mike West.
evidence show that this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, testify?
I do. State your full name and spell it for the record.
Michael West, W-E-S-T.
Good afternoon.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. What's your current employment,
I work for Intuit.
and what do you do for Intuit?
I'm an anti-money laundering investigator.
And are you also a special investigator for them as well?
I am.
And does Intuit have a division called QuickBooks?
Yes, we do.
Is that software that you actually use, the QuickBooks software?
I'm familiar with it. I don't use it in my daily duties.
Have you used it in your special investigations before?
I have.
And how long have you actually worked for Intuit?
About 14 months.
And can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
On a daily basis, I review transactions for potential money laundering.
Now, as part of that, do you review transactions on QuickBooks for that purpose as well?
I don't review them in QuickBooks. We have a payments division, and those are the transactions I review on a daily basis.
Prior to working for Intuit, what did you do?
I was a special agent with the FBI.
Now, have you had specialized training to work for Intuit?
Yes, on-the-job training.
Have you been trained in how to use QuickBooks?
I have.
And can you generally describe for us what QuickBooks is?
QuickBooks is a business suite of software to allow business or individuals to maintain their accounting.
And are you familiar with any information that was needed to access a QuickBooks account back in 2010?
Could you clarify that a bit?
Sure. If someone was to call QuickBooks and want to access an account, are you familiar with what information would have been needed to access it?
Yes, our customer service would request that the account holder provide their name, their company ID, and an email or username associated with the account.
Now, back in 2010, do you know if QuickBooks was recording customer service support calls?
I believe they were.
Foundation.
Overruled.
And I'm sorry, you believe they were? Is
I
that
believe
what
they
you
were,
said?
yes.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Do you have knowledge or have you been informed as to how long QuickBooks would actually store those customer support calls?
I believe only a short period of time and short period, a few months.
Now, once a QuickBooks account is set up, do you have knowledge as to who would be able to make changes to the account?
The account owner or anybody that account owner has given permission to.
Would the account owner be similar to being the master administrator of the account?
Yes, it would be.
Now, back in 2010, did QuickBooks have an online version?
We did.
And was that information, all of the information that an account holder would put into their program, was that stored online by QuickBooks?
Yes, it is.
Now, QuickBooks, do they have an obligation to make sure that the records are maintained accurately?
We do. We store those as they're presented to us.
Now, does QuickBooks have the ability to actually clone an account?
Yes.
And can you tell us how that works?
Once a request has been made, usually through our legal department, a request is sent to a software engineer or an operations engineer, and they run a script of a pre-recorded set of instructions. They tell the script what the company ID is and who the clone will be accessed by, and the system will create a unique username for that new user at the conclusion of the script. The script cancels the account, so it copies all the records, cancels the account so no modifications can be made, and then also cancels any reoccurring transactions.
So to be clear from what you just testified to, if a clone is provided of an account holder's accounts, is it an exact replica of what the account would look like?
It is.
Now, the clone that's provided, does that actually have things like back-end records or notes that customer service support may make on an account?
It does not.
Okay. Now, once a clone is provided to law enforcement, can those records actually be changed by the user in any way?
No, as long as the account is still in read-only or cancel mode.
Now, was QuickBooks contacted by Detective Hankey of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department in 2014 regarding some accounts belonging to Joseph McStay?
Yes,
And do you know how many online accounts Joseph McStay had at that time?
2.
And are you aware of whether or not QuickBooks created a clone of those accounts that belong to Joseph McStay?
Yes, a clone was prepared for both of those accounts.
Now, as part of that process that you just testified to, does Detective Dan Hankey have to be added or given a special username or password to be able to access those cloned accounts?
Yes, he does.
I want to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 423.
I'm gonna have to take a brief break. All right, we'll take about a 5 to 10 minute break. All right, the record reflects we are back in session. Parties and council are present, all members largely alternates are present. Apologize for the delay. I've been playing telephone tag with a doctor about family member who had some issues, and so when they called, I kind of had to take that call, otherwise we'd be playing telephone tag for probably days. So I apologize for the interruption. And Ms. Rodriguez, you may resume your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. When we left off, we were talking about the cloned account, and I want to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 423. If you could just take a look at that and tell me if you know what that is.
That appears to be an activity log or an audit log from a QuickBooks account.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually put this on the overhead. If we can get the overhead on. And if we can see the actual dates there, if you can explain to us what that would be.
So the dates on the left show the date the account was accessed or modified, and it shows which user made the modifications and then what they did. Did they sign into the account? Did they sign out? You can see by the dates here, the last date in 2010 was September 30th, and then the gap, which is after the date the clone was made. And then up above, you see where Detective Hankey logs in.
Okay, so would this be consistent with QuickBooks recording the actual activity by the person that was provided use to that cloned account?
Yes.
And again, to be clear, that cloned account can't be modified or anything like that by Detective Hankey in any way, is that right?
As long as it remains in the canceled state, if it was changed, it would also be reflected in the audit log.
Okay, and do you see anything on this audit log that would reflect that?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, are you also familiar with what are called the back-end user information?
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
The document that I've seen is for lack of a better term, an administrative document that is not available to the public. and it tells us certain system information.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 808. Can you tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
It's an administrative document or back-end document that tells us certain information about the account, how many records were in the account, how many accounts, how many customers, the billing status of the account when it was billed.
Okay. Now, to your knowledge, did or does QuickBooks have a way for a user to actually cancel their subscription without calling into customer support?
Yes, QuickBooks does have that ability.
Would that be something that would be reflected on the back-end user information?
It would.
And I'm going to show you on the second page of document 808. And can you see that entry on Monday, February 8th? Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell us exactly what that would be?
It appears that at some point the product was unsubscribed or canceled.
If we see something like this on these back-end user information sheets, would that also be reflected on the activity log for the account?
Yes, it would. If the user of the account did that activity, it would be reflected there.
Okay, since that page is up, I'm going to actually bring you back Exhibit 423 and have you look at the date of February 8th on there. Yeah, sorry.
None are object to the foundation unless they can establish those exhibits are for the same account.
Overall,
I can't see it very well.
Okay. Does it help if I point it out for you? Or
Yeah, I found it. February 8th at 2:44 p.m. it shows the account was canceled,
Okay,
which
so-
is consistent with that.
Okay,
Time.
and then the account that you're actually looking at the back-end user information for, each one of the accounts, you testified previously that Joseph had actually two separate QuickBooks accounts, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so just returning back with 808, if you can tell us the email address that's associated with that account that was canceled on Monday at 2:44. I think it's down in there.
It's the email account is custom@earthinspiredproducts.com.
Okay. And one last question with respect to the clones that were provided to Detective Hankey. Is he able to actually print up or screenshot specific documents from there?
I believe he is.
I have nothing further. Oh, one moment. Nothing further.
before, let me ask one question. You're familiar with QuickBook accounts, right?
Yes.
So once an account is cloned, if you were to look at various activities from that account, would you be able to explain what those activities are?
Would I be able to?
Yeah.
Generically. I'm familiar with the product and how to navigate in it.
And what it shows or doesn't show or?
Yes.
Okay.
But I have not looked at this.
No, I
particular
understand that. I understand that. Okay. Well, before cross-street counsel approach for a moment with the reporter.
I'll set your.
Okay, cross this.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. West.
Good afternoon.
So, just want to be clear on, because we're using these terms like two accounts, okay? I just want to make sure we understand what we say when we say two accounts. Council showed you Exhibit 808. Now, you said that Joseph McStay had two accounts. Was that your testimony?
Correct.
Did he have two accounts within the same account, or did he have two separate, completely different accounts?
However, QuickBooks categorizes those, there were two separate accounts.
Okay, meaning he paid, and they were both online accounts, correct?
I believe so.
And he paid a subscription fee for one, and he paid a subscription fee for the other.
I'm not aware of the exact billing. I'd have to see the records on those accounts.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as 808. And this is the billing history that was just testified to by you. And this billing activity would show each month when something is billed. And then it would show the $24.95 that's paid each month. Is that true?
Yes, looks correct.
Okay. So on this account, which you called the custom, you said it was a custom. No, and I'll put that up at the. I think you said it had a custom at earthinspiredproducts.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then it also had a particular username, correct?
Yes, those are the two items that we would ask for to verify the account.
Okay. And so this is one account, correct?
I believe so.
And on this account, the billing activity, would you agree, started, at least according to this document, in January of '08?
Yes, it appears that that's when it began.
Okay. Then we have Exhibit 809, which is the other account, which he paid another subscription fee for. Is that correct?
If you could move that down a bit further.
Should I go to the billing pages?
Sure.
Okay. Well, first, this is a separate email account. It has contact at earthinspiredproducts.com. Is that correct?
Yes, different email than the previous one.
Okay. And then if we look at the billing pages, this account starts billing in 2005. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what it appears.
Okay. And each month, a separate billing amount is billed. Is that correct?
From these documents, yes, that's what it appears.
So a separate fee subscription was paid for that account, correct?
I believe so.
Now, the owner of this account that we just saw, that started back in 2005, since he has an account already, a QuickBooks Online account already, if he wanted to, he could actually set up different accounts within the same subscription, correct?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled, answer if he knows.
My understanding of the product is our customers can have one access and have access to multiple accounts.
So I can set up within my one account, I'm paying my subscription fee every month, I can set up an additional number of chart of accounts within this one account. Is that correct?
So in my mind, an account, as we're referring to it, is paid subscription for a particular service. A chart of account is something that would be found within the product, within QuickBooks. That's an accounting nomenclature for how you keep your business records.
Okay, so if I had, let's say, my main Earth Inspired Products account online with QuickBooks, and I wanted to start a custom business within my business, and I wanted a separate accounting process for that side of the business, could I then use my existing subscription and then start charting my accounts with a different identification, with a different account, let's just say with a different account?
The product itself is very flexible, so it doesn't conform to rigid accounting principles. So you can customize the product however it suits you as the business owner.
So the answer would be yes to my question.
Objection, misstates testimony.
Suspend this phrase.
Would I be able to set up my custom accounting within my larger account that I already have?
Yes.
Okay. Would one reason to start a separate account, let's say, and pay for another subscription, right? Take on an additional monthly fee, correct? Would be to keep those two businesses completely separate so that maybe I could restrict access to my new custom account.
Objection, speculation.
Suspend.
The new account, the new custom account, in this case, the newer account, would have its own authorized users, correct?
Correct.
So, and it wouldn't be the same authorized users necessarily that I already have with my regular account, correct?
Objection, speculation.
Call the roll, begin if you know.
It would be whatever that account owner chooses them to be.
Okay. And council showed you the dates of February 8th, is that correct? February 8th and 9th?
Yes.
Okay, and let's go to that right here. Now, this is a billing history, or billing, sorry, we're looking at exhibit 808. This is I guess, billing information for the account, is that correct?
Billing and account status history.
Okay, and it gives us the payment information on the account, correct? How the monthly payment is being made?
Yes.
And it gives the various fees that are billed every month, correct?
That's what it appears, yes.
Okay, and council directed you to February 8th and 9th, correct?
February 8th, not February 9th.
February 8th. So on February 8th, you indicated that it was, the subscription was canceled. Was that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was it reactivated again on February 8th?
From this log, it appears it was. The next entry shows that it changing subscription status to canceled to activated.
Okay. So whatever happened on that day, does that have anything to do with the data being deleted or not deleted?
Objection, speculation.
Call the roll, answer if you know.
The status of the data in the account is not affected by the subscription status. It remains.
Thank you. And council showed you that, I guess you call it an activity log or an audit log, exhibit 423?
Yes.
Okay, so I think she directed you to, I guess, the September 30th date of 2010. Can we see it on this? So on September 30th, 2010, it looks like activity, what happened on September 30th, 2010?
appears that Joseph McStay logged in and subscribed to the product. And then we jumped to September of 2014.
Now, you don't know if it's Joseph McStay or somebody else using the,
I don't.
that's just the name identified with the account.
That's the name identified with the credentials that were placed in the system.
Okay. And it only goes until October 13th, 2014, is that correct?
From this document, yes, that's the last day.
So if anything happened after that, if data was changed or anything of that nature on the clone that you provided, it wouldn't be reflected here, would it?
Objection, misstates testimony.
Sustained.
You can only, on the clone data that you provided, you can only say that nothing was changed up until October 13th, 2014?
Objection, misstates testimony.
Overruled, can't say if that's correct.
Can you restate that? I'm not following you.
Yes. You indicated that you gave Detective Hankey the cloned account, correct?
Intuit, I didn't give Detective Hankey, but Intuit produced the clone on a particular date, on whatever date that was.
Okay. Would that be the date that Intuit could certify nothing has been changed up until that date? Or is it the October 13th, 2014 date?
Well, one could look at the clone and see what activities occurred within that clone. So if Detective Hankey is using the clone at this time, the clone is logging his activity, as well as any prior activity to the clone being made.
Okay. So there was no activity after October 13th, 2014, at least according to this audit log.
From this printed log, I have no idea what was done after this date in the clone.
Okay. That's actually that's a better question. You don't know what was done in the clone after this date, correct?
I don't know.
And by the way, does this audit log tell us what account we're dealing with? Are we dealing with the main custom, the main account for Earth Inspired Products? Are we dealing with the custom account? Is this activity reflecting one account or the other?
If you'll move up the page or down the page, there may be at the very bottom, there's a URL.
Okay.
It may indicate some account numbers at the very bottom.
These numbers?
Yeah, and I don't know if those relate, that number may relate to the account number, but wherever that was produced from would be the account it came from. I don't think that's on the document itself.
Okay. I'm gonna bring it up to you. You probably know these documents better, so I'll let you have that. I'm going to show you the 3 exhibits that the prosecution showed you. That would be 808, 809, and 423. And if you can tell me whether the audit log on 423 relates to the main account or the custom account.
I don't see anything on 808 that would indicate which account. I'm sure Detective Hankey could tell us where that came from.
So when counsel showed you this, you don't even know which account they're talking about, correct? Either whether it's the main account or the custom account.
I do.
Nothing further, thank you.
Anything on redirect?
Just a moment, Your Honor. Let me show you again, Exhibit 808 and 423 that you looked at previously. And I believe that you indicated when you looked at this actual activity log, you were unable to ascertain, just looking at the activity log by itself, which account it went to, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when you look at Exhibit 808, if you recall that one, can you tell us what account that's for? The email address that's associated with it. I think it's on the first page.
It has the account with the username EIP Custom and the email name custom@earthinspiredproducts.com.
Okay, and we had you take a look at some information contained within this particular Exhibit 808, where we talked about the specific date of February 8th and the canceled subscription that happened at, it's actually says 1444, which is 244, correct?
Correct.
And is that what's reflected on this activity log in Exhibit 423 on February 8th?
Yes, it is. The time is consistent, less the seconds.
Okay. So in looking at those two documents, would it appear to you that that activity log belongs to the custom account based on the information that's on there?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does Your Honor want to take a break at this point?
You didn't have anything further on redirect, other than the potentially the other information?
One moment. Just briefly, you indicated, to be clear, that a user could actually cancel their account, their online account, without actually calling in. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in that exhibit that we looked at, 808, where you indicated that it was canceled at 2:44, and it's actually reinstated shortly thereafter, is that correct?
It is about 10 minutes afterwards.
Okay, and then do we see that the subscription is actually canceled again the following day on February 9th?
Yes.
And what time is that subscription canceled the following day?
It shows February 9th at 8:16 a.m.
Okay, thank you. And in looking at Exhibit 809, which is for the contact account, can you tell us if you see, directing your attention to the month of February of 2010, do you see where that is?
Yes.
Do you see any entries on February 8th or February 9th relating to changing the subscription or canceling the account or anything like that? And that would be of 2010.
I do not.
So the only entries that we see related to that would be on the back-end user notes and the activity log that we viewed reflected for the custom account. Is that correct?
Yes.
And now, if a user actually cancels and they do it, let's say I'm at home and I go onto my computer and I want to cancel my account, is that information, if I do that without calling in and asking for it to be deleted, is that information, if I cancel my subscription, is that information deleted from the account?
Is what information deleted from?
Is all of the data that I put in, if I cancel my subscription, because I think you alluded to this a little bit before in terms of canceling a subscription versus deleting a subscription. Is there a difference between the two?
Well, when one cancels a subscription, it basically prevents you from adding new information to it. It's still accessible, but you can't add additional information to the to the information. It's still available for a period of time after the cancellation, for in the event that you want to reactivate it for whatever reason. So the data is still there. We don't delete that data upon cancellation.
Okay, so when we see that activity on the 8th that starts at 2:44 p.m. in the afternoon and the account is canceled and then it's reinstated 10 minutes later, is the data still there when when the account is reinstated 10 minutes later?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I don't have anything else, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. What we just saw, the cancellation of a subscription on the billing part of the exhibit 808, which was the custom account. Would it be common to cancel an online subscription if you were switching to the desktop version?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Is one of the things that QuickBooks offers is a desktop version of its QuickBooks?
Yes.
Okay. And if I get can I transfer my data from my online account to my desktop version?
Yes, you can.
Okay. And now I'm operating my desktop version, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do I need my online version anymore?
I guess that'd be up to you.
Probably wouldn't need it though, right? The common thing would then be after the transfer is done to then cancel that subscription.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
In your experience with QuickBooks, have you seen people, once they transfer all their data to the desktop version, cancel their online subscription?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained. Background as well as relevance as to what other people may do.
Do you know whether or not in this case with the custom account, whether the desktop version was requested or ordered.
I don't.
And just to clarify, on Exhibit 809, which was the main account or the contact account that you testified to, you recall what I'm talking about?
It's similar to 808,
Right.
yes.
It was the one that started in 2005.
Yes.
Okay. There was no call-in or cancellation or anything on February 8th or of that main account, is that correct?
I don't know.
That's Exhibit 809. Take it up for you. There you go. On February 8th and 9th are the dates that I think council directed you to.
Of 2010?
Correct.
There, on March 13th, there's an active to, or a changing subscription to active to suspended, but nothing in February. Or, I'm sorry, there is something in February, February 13th. And it looks like it's to pay the subscription fee.
Okay. But there was no cancellation of any subscription on the main account, correct?
The contact account.
The contact account.
At all?
Well, we're talking about February. I mean, you can look whatever you want. I'm just saying council
Yeah.
directed you to the February 8th and 9th
Yeah,
dates.
no, there is not any cancellation on this one.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to take another brief recess, hopefully about 15 minutes. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case, and we'll see everyone back in about 10, 15 minutes.